Greetings, this is Fluffle Stuffing, and today I'm going to show you guys my top 10 most hated decks of all time. This list will not exclude creative decks. In fact, 2 of them are creative decks that got immensely net decked by the community. This list will be a 10 decks that made me want to flip a table and put their cards in a bonfire. That being said, let's get to Fluffle Stuffing's top 10 most hated decks of all time. Number 10, Satellar Knights. I often call this deck Linear Knights. The deck uses the same combos over and over to get to their Xyz. Altair into Vega for Deneb. Vega into Altair for Deneb. The same moves for Xyz. Speaking of Xyz, this deck is what I consider to be the most powerful Xyz monster of all time, Stellar Knight Trivor. It bounces the whole field back to the hand and freely discards a card out of your opponent's hand. With that event, you get free knowledge of some cards in your opponent's hand, so Mind Crush is a staple in Satellar Knights. Also, Giant Trunade is banned, but they get Trivor. Back in Trunade's day, Phoenix Chain was not a card, now it is, and Trivor can bounce that back, Call the Haunted, and the newer Oasis of Dragon Souls to the hand to use again. Also, Trivor can also float into a Knight, being Vega to go into another Satellar Knight in your hand, Altair to summon one from your graveyard, or Deneb to search another Satellar Knight from your deck to your hand. If that's not ridiculous, I don't know what is. Don't even mention their annoying trap Stellar Nova Alpha, which negates an effect and destroys it by triggering a Satellar Knight, which is inherently a -1, but they also get to draw a card. It replaces itself. It's not a +1 because you use 2 cards to negate 1, which is a -1, but you also draw off of it. So it's balanced? No. Because if you tribute a Satellar Knight, it makes it alive in the graveyard for Altair to revive from your graveyard, most likely Deneb to search again. The deck was tier 1 for a reason, and it is annoying enough to make this list, along with the strong trap lineup on top of that. Number 9, Hat. Short for hands, artifacts, and trap tricks, this deck is a mix of 3 anti-meta engines, so it was bound to annoy me. Trap Tricks Myrmilio searches a trap hole card, which in itself is already annoying at times, but artifacts can set themselves as back row and gets effects off of being destroyed. They summon themselves if they are destroyed on your turn, and they get a control effect for that turn, so they get control even on your turn. That mixed with Trap Tricks' trap holes, it makes you afraid to destroy back row and summon monsters. Hands are also a huge issue, with them being able to float into each other and destroy any field presence you'll be lucky to have at all. So the deck is a deadly trio to put together, and they have access to the almighty rank 4 toolbox and rank 5 such as Constellar Pleiades and Artifact Durandal. Ooh man, this deck is just annoying to face, making it number 9 on this list. Number 8, Fire Kings. I think I can speak on behalf of 99% of the community that we were not looking forward to Fire King support. This deck already lacks skill, and it was so strong back in its day. Before Shadow's, Burning Abyss, and Yang Zings, being able to plus out with destruction and stuff, Fire Kings were a headache, because with the Garunix loop, they could constantly turn your monster lineup into ashes. So unless you had a card that couldn't die, your board was getting nuked every turn. Beals wasn't even a card yet, neither was 101 or Castell, which were the most convenient ways to get around or stop Garunix. Even Exciton back then was useless. If you use it, Garunix will come back and incinerate Exciton. So yes, Fire Kings are annoying, and that's how they make this list. Number 7, Mermails. This deck has been relevant for so long. I will go out on a limb and say that this deck is BS. Hear me out before you bring pitchforks and torches to my house. I played the deck myself for a week-long tournament, and I won. Going 2-0 each time while I thought of combos in my head as I read the cards. Either I'm good with learning decks, or the deck's BS. It took me a while to learn Fluffle, so yeah, I think it's BS. Now with Nektibus on their side, Mermails are even more fast, more consistent, and it searches so much. Also, they abuse Norden and Dweller to the fullest of their ability while searching with Atlantean Dragoons constantly, which in itself is annoying. Ugh, this deck is just driving me crazy. Number 6, Prophecies. I don't have much to say about this, so I will go ahead and say this. Prophecy players are, in my opinion, the worst part of Prophecy. Why? It's because they take 20 minutes to make their move. I know Prophecies may be hard to use at times, but that's just downright ridiculous. Even after their turn, which may happen after you age 30 years, you make your turn, and unless you decay them, which is very hard to do, they will have a turn that will take just as long as the last one, if not longer, and have you sit there in your seat taking a nap or two while they make their move. The deck itself is also annoying. Searching more than Google does in a 24-hour span, and having a spell that I consider broken being Spellbook of Fate, which has 3 very powerful effects. And you can't even stop the effects directly because the effects can only resolve after the card's resolution starts. So it'll be very hard to counteract that thing unless you have Imperial Iron Wall. Also, they have access to Spellbook of Judgment, which I often consider to be the most broken spell in the game. So this deck, and mostly the players, just annoy me horribly, and that's why it's making number 6 on this list. That's it for part 1. Part 2 will come out soon. So stay tuned. This is Fluffle Stuffing, signing out.